The Human Founder Podcast by Gali Bloch-Liran.
Hi, I'm Gali Bloch-Liran and welcome to The Human Founder, the podcast where we speak about the mental aspects of the entrepreneurial journey. Entrepreneurs often describe the emotional roller coaster that is embedded in being an entrepreneur or investor, where you experience the lowest of lows, when you leave your wife just after she's giving birth just to meet an investor and you still regret it. And the highest of highs when you celebrate the publishing of your book about the Israeli cybersecurity industry. And it's from that place of uncertainty, the need to constantly self-manage ourselves, keep up our energy and be mentally resilient in order to deal with everything. Well, it's not that easy. In each episode, I will be talking to entrepreneurs, investors, psychologists, being their sounding board, with the goal of creating a space for this less spoken about layer, which is the mental aspect accompanying the entrepreneurial journey. I will also share tips and tricks to help boost your focus, clarity, and mental resilience. Enjoying my podcast? Before we dive into today's episode, make sure to follow it on the app you're listening at. That way, you'll keep your finger on the pulse and be updated right away with all the new episodes straight to your feed. Did you press follow? Let's begin. So today I have the pleasure of speaking with Alon Arvatz. Hi, Alon, and it's really, really great to have you here with me. Thanks for coming.
Hey, Gali. It's really awesome to be here.
Great. Just speak to the mic. Otherwise, no one will hear you. So let's introduce you. Alon, you're a serial entrepreneur and married plus 4 children. Currently, you are the CEO and founder of Point 5, helping companies manage their cloud costs. Prior to that, you were the co-founder and CPO of Insights, a cybersecurity startup, and together with Gal Ben David and Guy Nitzan, you sold it for $350 million. You also wrote a book, and we'll dive into all the details just now in our episode. So great to have you here with me. And let's talk about Insights, maybe, and how it all began, like seven and something years ago, right?
Yes, indeed. We started Insights 7-8 years ago. It was a really, amazing journey. When it all began, like Guy, my co-founder, came to me and told me, "Hey, Alon, I have this idea about doing intelligence to predict cyber attacks and help organizations that way." And I had no idea about high tech. I've never even been an employee in any company, not to mention high tech. But for me, it was once in a lifetime opportunity to, go after my dreams and found a startup. So I immediately said yes, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. So I think that today we have this opportunity to really see a journey from the beginning till the end. I mean, it's not the end of the career, but it's the end of this journey. And to really touch base on a few highest and lows and personal things that happen through there and various aspects that we can address about co-founders' relationships and about managing others and about scaling up a company and about being a leader in the cybersecurity industry and about doing a great exit and how does it influence or it doesn't influence on your day-to-day lives and your family. So we'll take the threads that are most interesting for us. I have a question, like from your early childhood, the fact that you're a religious person, how does it all connect to the fact that you chose to be a cybersecurity founder, entrepreneur?
Yeah. So first of all, I really attribute the fact that I went after entrepreneurship to my childhood. So my dad has always been working in the high-tech industry. And I remember as a child going to my dad's office, seeing, the office and everything and getting so excited. And I think this was the point where I decided like tech entrepreneurship is something or a path that I want to personally take. We're talking like, when I was like 7 or 8, right?
That young.
That young. And I think this was the beginning of everything. I come from a religious home. It's pretty obvious. It's hard to miss. But it never like stood against me, I think. Like my parents always encouraged me to go to, after tech opportunities, whether it's in the IDF or later on my career. So it was never a holdback from my family perspective.
Do you feel, or from your experience, that the fact that you're coming from a religious home, you're less exposed to the tech and to this, industry and the opportunities that comes along with it, or your friends, or the fact that you had a role model in your home, like your dad, that you were exposed to it from a very young age, it didn't matter to you?
So I think at the end of the day, because I had the role model at home, so I managed to take this path. But in reality, like you said, I think as a religious kid, growing up in a religious environment, you are totally less exposed to technological opportunities. So for example, when you go to your military service, you are encouraged to go to infantry, okay, and go be a warrior, and not going after positions in the intelligence corps, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And in Israel, it's critical. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you get to 8200 or a technological unit, that really, puts you on the path to
Mm-hmm.
a career in tech.
Mm-hmm.
So this is crucial. And there are a lot more focus on other area than business success, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even when we talk about money, okay. Today, I feel very important to talk about money, especially with religious people, because where I grew up, money was underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's not. It's also not allowed to talk about it. It's like you're not exposed to the full understanding of it, right?
So I'm not. I wouldn't say that you're not allowed to talk about it. You're allowed to talk about it, but it's always come with like, hey, it has to be low priority.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can talk about money, but then you have to say, but it's low priority. I
Mm-hmm.
don't really care about it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is what it's all about. And I believe that you can't make money the center of your life.
Of
This
course.
is a very bad position to be in. But you definitely have to be like with a positive approach towards money and working
And
with
to
money.
abundance and the way it impacts you.
Exactly, because this is the way to do great things in life and in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from that perspective, my religious background maybe put me in a not such a good position. But in the end of the day, I think like home and the role model that you have at home makes all the difference.
In a few episodes, I'm going to record a specific series about money and our attitude to money, because I think we have a lot to learn about it and to explore there. And it's not just for religious people; it's also for regular people who like has various imprintings and biases towards money, and especially in this industry that it comes also with a lot of risk and how to manage and mitigate it, etc. But definitely when you're growing up in an environment, cultural environment that is totally different, these are less things that you're familiar with or exposed with, and you need to develop your attitude towards it, and how do you want to embrace it into your life. So then you went to the army and you went to a gauze, right?
Yeah, commando unit.
Yeah.
Does. I decided to give up my intelligence corps opportunities and go like, many other religious people after, being a combat warrior. And that was a really defining, period of time in my life. I think it was the first time that I felt that I'm really bad at what I'm doing. Like I was always last in everything in a gauze, okay? Running, jump, whatever, you name it, shooting, you name it, always the last one. I think this was the first time in my life, but I told myself, hey, I'm not breaking. I'm going all the way to the end, no matter what. It was kind of a mental struggle for me, how to go past that. And I made up my mind. But soon later, I hurt my hearing during training.
Mm-hmm.
I had a hearing loss. I'm still hearing beeping until today. And at that point, they told me, hey, you cannot go, becoming an Agaz warrior. You have to drop. And that was a tragedy. I think like this is, one of the moments that I remember, getting back to my team at Agaz after I've been notified that I cannot, complete the entire course and get to the finish line. And I was devastated. Like I just, in the middle of, all of my team, I just, burst crying, ran to my room, didn't want to talk to anyone. And imagine, you're a warrior. Everyone told me, hey, you have to be strong. You have to be resilient. You're not allowed to break. This is what it's all about. Suddenly you're breaking in front of everyone, running away. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible experience.
And then what happened after?
So I've always had like this growth mindset, like how I can turn like, bad things that happen to me into good opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like, a few days later, I decided that I don't want to stay in Agaz and work in HR, which is where they sent me.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to go back to intelligence corps. This is where I can contribute the most. This is where I can bring my skills, my talent, into practice. And I started a campaign to convince the entire IDF.
A campaign.
A campaign,
that sounds
yes.
interesting. What was the campaign about? Hi, I'm Alon Arvatz. Listen.
Yeah, I'm Alon Arvatz. I wanted to be a warrior. I cannot be anymore. Allow me to contribute where I can contribute most. And I convinced everyone I could. And I did the impossible task. I've never heard of anyone else who've done something like that. And convincing them to transition me to 8200. And 3 months later, it just happened.
So basically, you're practicing your pitch performance skills just before you knew you were going to need them. But that's the way it began. Tell me, what was this quiz competition that you won when you were on your 5th grade? What was it? Quiz at what?
Yeah, it was a quiz on Hanukkah.
Okay.
And all of Hanukkah's traditions.
Okay.
I was at 5th grade, completely naive. I said, okay. My parents said, hey, yeah, go for it. Why not, etc. And eventually I won 1st place, which was completely a surprise for me.
What was so meaningful in this experience to you? And how, if it shaped anything later on in your life?
It did. First of all, I'm really into education, really, understand the importance of education. So wherever I can do something related, I'm doing it. Because when I think about myself and where my journey and success, began, I was attributed to very young ages of elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a point of time where I experienced success.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that I can do things and be successful.
Mm-hmm. That's an amazing point. You're actually describing the self-efficacy that you felt at that point in time, that it builds our character in such a meaningful way that this is also what we want to give to our children, the feeling that that they have a good experience, that they use their skills, their abilities, their minds, that they feel good with what they're doing. They don't have to be in 1st place, but the fact itself that they are into it and they are trying and they are doing whatever they can into it, putting whatever they can into it, this is something that really builds our character. And you see how it goes later on to your life.
And if you ask me, this is the only trait that entrepreneur has to have. Anything else can be compensated with one of your co-founders. But it's the only trait that you have to have. The
self-efficacy?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
When you stand in front of customers, when you stand in front of employees, your investors, if you believe in yourself, if you believe you can make it, others will follow you. Investors, customers, employees. And this is the only way to succeed.
So as a religious person, it's interesting for me to ask, because this self-efficacy, it's actually a very inner strong belief in yourself.
Right.
In yourself. It's not necessarily in God or in any other religious gods, but you believe in yourself, in a very, very meaningful and strong way. Do you feel that your education or the fact that you come from a religious house made it stronger, or your understanding of belief is different in that manner?
So I don't think so. First of all, I look at it as skills and talents that God gave me. This is, how I look at it when I experience success, for example. I actually think that my religious background and education created internal conflicts,
mm-hmm.
because I really grew up on humility as probably the most important trait, a person can have. And this sometimes can come in conflict, with self-efficacy. But on the other hand, I think that if you do it right, you can reach to self-efficacy without reaching arrogance. Okay.
That's amazing, the way that you describe it. So let's take it from the very high, sentence and break it down into examples. So you were together with 2 co-founders. Now, we need to put it on the table and say that not a lot of the teams of co-founders succeed to make all this journey from initiation, ideation, fundraising, go-to-market, scale up, etc., all the way to the exit, and keep the original team of co-founders together. And of course, there are many crises and conflicts along the way, but at the end, you made it. And indeed, in that manner, it's already a big thing. Take us a little bit to those conflicts. You said something, you said it beautifully about the tension between humility and self-efficacy towards arrogance. How did you feel those things came up in your team?
Yeah, so first of all, I think it's a miracle that we survived until then because there are so many conflicts. We talked about, being religious, so that obviously there were some conflicts. My co-founders were secular. So for example, Shabbat, like Saturday, they work regularly and I don't touch computer, phone, nothing. So they work on weekends and I'm not. And I think that, when we started, it created some conflict around, hey, we're working more. And I think that, in the end of the day, we got to some balance where, I felt like I need to prove myself and work harder than everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very clear that through the week, on nights and everything, I work harder than my co-founders. And on Saturday, I'm not working. So I think we managed to get this, balance right. And I think we had like great relationship. I think that, our key to success was that, every time when we fought, and we fought a lot, I have to say, screaming, okay, you name it, okay.
The whole shebang.
Yes, exactly. And I think like there was this magic where the day after we left everything behind us and acted like nothing happened.
But what was in the middle? Like you, Gal and Guy, you got into a fight about whatever it is, go to market, client, feature, money, whatever. What, how does it look like from the inside? Really describe it to us. Like you go into a room, you shout at each other, you go out. How do you do it? Like,
so I think because Guy was most of the time in the US.
Because you had a good ending, so
Yeah.
you can talk, reflect back and talk about it. Sometimes when it doesn't end up in the right way, so it's very difficult for us to really open the door and open the window and look really to what happens there between co-founders because we're not allowed to speak about many things. But because of the fact that you did it and you succeed through all the conflicts, I think it's really valuable for others, and everyone are dealing with conflicts between co-founders. Everyone. There are no one team that it skips them. So it's really interesting if you could open the window and let us understand a little bit from within.
For sure, and I went through an amazing process, I think, personally. And when we started Insight, so I was sure that if I think that something needs to be done in a certain way, I have to fight for it, okay? And that led to a lot of fights that like didn't end up where, we're all happy or we're all going in the same direction. This was the beginning. I think at some point in time, and I think it also related to the fact that I gained more trust in my co-founders and I saw that, we're able to do good things. And when Guy go to investors or to customers, I can trust him to do a good job. Or when Gal is deciding on a certain architecture or tech stack, then I can rely on him. I think at that point, I realized that it's more important to keep the team intact, okay, and go in the same direction than fight over what I believe in. And I think at that point in time, I decided that when, Guy feel very strong about something, okay, even if I feel very strong about something, he's the CEO, I'm taking a step back and let him to take the decision. And that was a tough process to go through. Like, you believe in yourself, you believe that what it needs to be done. You're the co-founder. We started, you said, I'll be the co-founder and I'll decide what's going to happen. And then you realize, like in marriage, by the way, that you cannot take all the decisions and there are different opinions and you have to learn to work with each other. And I think that at some point, I decided, when there is such a conflict, I will take the step back. Obviously, it's not easy.
I want to reflect on it for a second because it's really beautiful what you said, and it requires, I think, 3 pillars or components in order to succeed in it. The first one is really to have trust. Once you trust your co-founder, it's easier. It's not easy, but it's easier to let go a little bit. The second thing it requires, and I think this one is a crucial thing, is maturity. Founders in the very beginning, it's very difficult for them because it requires letting go of the ego and choosing to go a little bit towards the super ego, to see the other person, to understand his contribution, and that we need to succeed in it as a team. It's not my success, it's our success. And you describe it really, really beautifully. What helped you to go through this personal growth process and how much time it took you? Because it's another thing I want to emphasize. founders think that, okay, let's start to work on it and tomorrow morning it will be okay. And it's not the answer. So share with us a little bit about your journey.
So I think, first of all, it took me around 2 years to get to that point. And if you take consideration the company I had with Guy prior to Insights, I had company Cyber School with Guy.
Okay.
So it's even becoming 3+ years.
I see.
Until I got to that point. So it takes a lot of time.
So you had a company before together.
Exactly.
But you already began to build the chemistry between you.
Yes.
But then you joined a third co-founder, which totally changes the dynamics.
Exactly. It totally changed the dynamics. So it's a very long process. I think that, in the end of the day, I realized that the most important thing for our success and for me to reach my goals is that we would work as a team towards like joint goals. And think about it. Guy was in the US. I was in Israel. If I'm doing something that is not aligned with Guy in the US, it will take him a few months to find out that I'm taking a different direction. And then it will already be a disaster. So if we're not like 100% aligned, things would break. And I think that when you realize that, okay, and like you said, you give up your ego. And to be honest, I think until the last day, every time I took a step back, like it didn't feel good.
You felt this itch.
Exactly, this itch, like it hurts a bit. But I believe this is the only way, to do big things. And I think that in the end of the day, this is what makes you a big person as well.
I'm really touched to hear you say it, because the fact that we learn and develop how to put our ego aside and let other leads, it doesn't mean that it doesn't touch us, that it doesn't hurt us, that we're totally okay with it. No, it means that we feel it, because if we're not feeling it, we're not human, right? And we are not empathetic to others and to ourselves and compassionate to our others and ourselves. But together with the fact that you feel this small itch, or I need to let him lead now, or it's not my first choice, yada, 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 to take a breath and to tell yourself, but this is my choice, and I'm in a mature way, in a positive way, I make in a conscious way, I make this choice because I know this will be for the greater of for the best of the company, and it also will make me the greater person, because this is what a company needs now. And it doesn't mean it's easy.
It's not.
It's not. It's not. Exactly. It's not. I'm very happy that you're saying it, because sometimes from the outside it seems like everything is a piece of cake, and let him lead, and he's the CEO, and everyone are aligned. But from the inside, it's not like that.
This is what you say to investors. The reality is different.
So we spoke about how you fought together. So you went into a room and...
I think it was mostly around funding rounds and how to raise money and how much to take and like which investor to get on board. I think it was mostly around that, and maybe like very big strategic questions around the product. And
what was your decision-making mechanism? Like each one decides in his domain, or you make strategic decisions together, or you need to have a consensus or the majority? What worked for you?
It's a good question. I think that, over time we developed some kind of formula. So when it was in a specific area of expertise of one of us, so this person got, more like weight. Mm-hmm. His opinion got more weight. Mm-hmm. We always try to get consensus. Mm-hmm. Too often we didn't reach consensus, I have to say. And then we just let the CEO decide. Mm-hmm. That was like our mechanism.
So that if you cannot get into a consensus and there's agree on everything together, you take a step back and you allow the CEO to decide, even if it's not like your first choice, but you accept it.
Exactly.
This acceptance is it sounds so easy, but it's so difficult.
It's tough. And honestly, like, it sounds very nice process, but in reality, there were a lot of, screaming involved. Maybe even cursing ones, I have to say.
Maybe. It's a record, maybe. No, it's we're joking, but it's important to say it, because it's not like we're, this naive situation that like, let's talk about everything easily and we'll figure it out. No, it's very emotional. So much money is involved. So much responsibility is involved. So much sacrifice is involved. and the risks and the opportunities and the possibilities, they vary. And no one knows the answer, right? No one knows what is the right answer. So you also have to be an owner of your decision. Also, if you make bad decisions, then when you make bad decisions, and you do make bad decisions, many of the times, you need your co-founders to support you. And how will they support you when it wasn't their first choice? And it's so easy to break in these, areas. And it's so easy in those areas to say, but it wasn't my choice. So why did you do it? And the blaming gets in. And this is when we have to work on ourselves in such a, strong and meaningful way, because it's not the natural response.
Exactly. And there's also a lot of pressure around everyone.
All the time.
Customers, investors, employees, all the time, which makes it even harder than what you described. So it's totally fragile.
So what did you do? You decided to create some kind of systems for decision making. That's for one. Two, every time you had a misunderstanding or a conflict, you got yourself into a room and you tried to solve it, or you just everyone conveyed their opinions, and then you would decide the day after to sleep on it? Or how did you had someone external to work with on it? What did you do as a team?
Yeah. So first of all, me on the personal side, I was asked to take a day to think about it. Like I never wanted to reach a decision on the spot.
So you're the product, right? You need to make everyone work together.
Yes, exactly, something like that. So I was asked to think about it, because when I made a decision on the spot, there were a lot of emotions involved. Mm-hmm. That's once. And if I wasn't happy with my decision, then I was always hard to let go of, hey, why did I do that? Why did I go for it, etc. So I was asked to think about it, but in 1-2 days, we always reached a decision, okay? And like I said, eventually I just let, if the other don't accept my opinion, then I let the CEO decide, and we go ahead full force.
What helped you? You said it took you more than 2 years to grow yourself, and it never ends, yeah? We're growing all the time. But what helped you during those 2 years to reach to a higher level of consciousness and the way you look at things?
I think I mainly saw the damage and potential damage of keeping the same behavior. Mm-hmm. I think that was the main thing. And also from my religious point of view, mm-hmm. I saw it as a challenge, to build myself as a human being, mm-hmm. okay, and reach high spiritual heights. Mm-hmm. Because for me, humility has an amazing spiritual value. So I think these both things together allowed me to make progress. It took a lot of time, mm-hmm. honestly. It wasn't in a day. I wish it was. But keep this progress going. That's what gets you to a very good place at the end.
Take us to a moment where you had a very big conflict. It's not necessarily a moment. It's a process of a conflict. Maybe something towards the exit strategy towards the end, how to address it.
Yes. So also here, we had a lot of different opinions. Me personally, for me, I see a lot of value in building companies in Israel and building Israel as a state. This is also a religious value for me. So I was always against a fast exit. Always. So every time we ended up
7 years is not that fast.
That's right. So, but in the beginning, after 1, 2, 3, 4 years, I was against
You had opportunities?
Yeah, companies approached us mm-hmm. and said, hey, we're interested. I was listen, I don't want to talk to them. I don't care. I want to go full force ahead. Mm-hmm. So I think we had different opinions around that. At some point, I have to say, we all agreed that, we want to take it long term. So at some point we reached a certain level of alignment. But I think, when 7 years passed and realized that our product, should be part of a bigger suite, and realized that this is the right thing for our customers and for our product, then we were open to hear from Rapid7 about the opportunity of becoming part of Rapid7. So we had some conflicts around that. I wouldn't say these weren't the biggest conflicts, I have to say. But yeah, we came from different places.
Also, as a religious founder, how did you manage this tension between, as founders, we try to say the truth, but with a little bit, extra benefits, let's say. Because, yeah, we have to sell the dream. It's not that I'm encouraging you to do it. No, I think that if we're not being in full integrity and we're not aligned with who we are and what we want to say, we wouldn't be able to hold it for a long time.
Of course.
If the dissonance is too big. If it's a little bit, or if you already see in the pipeline the sales and you see that it's like in 90%, you'll close the deal and it's going to a good direction, etc., then you can, put consideration into it and decide how to manage it, but not to lie in very big scale for sure. But how did you manage it also as a religious founder, that the value of saying the truth is something that is very, very strong within your education, this tension?
So, first of all, it was very hard, especially when engaging, interacting with customers in the beginning of Insights, when the product wasn't working that well. And it put me a lot of time in positions where, like you said, you don't tell the entire truth, right? Or you hide things, or you say things that are like 80% there. And in the beginning, I have to say, I felt pretty bad about it. Like, I felt like I'm not loyal to my values, to things I believe in, especially when, I come from a religious point of view of this is something very, very important, okay, that you have to follow, even if you get benefits from that. But what I decided to do is to find the right path over time and not overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
a
big
great
difference.
Sentence, to find the right path over time.
Yes.
It's so deep because it embraces, the patience.
Yeah.
And to finding the way and the way that is right to you.
Exactly. And if you also look for instant results, you can also get desperate very fast, because you can never get instant results. It's all like life is all about a process. So in the beginning, I said, okay, I'm not always saying 100% truth, but I'm on a journey to get to a point where I feel very good with the value of feeling the truth and what I do in life. And over time, as you learn what's important for customers, what's not important to customers, you learn how to position things differently. So, even if you don't have the product ready, it will resonate with the customer and he would want to continue working with you. And as you gain experience, you learn how to do it in a way that is loyal to your values. Mm-hmm. And in this case, to the truth. So I feel that, on the first day of Insights, when I was interacting with customers, it was always I don't feel good about what I do. And someone said, okay, let's see how I can make the business work. And I didn't say the entire truth all the time. And I think over time, as I took on myself this journey of developing myself and how I do business, I got to a point where I feel very comfortable mm-hmm. with the value of saying the truth and still being very successful in the tech world.
You found the right balance for you.
Exactly.
I want to take you to 2 points in time. The very, very beginning of the, in the incubation of the startup, and the very end. You mentioned that you and Guy worked together before so. And then you started Insights and you joined Gal together with you. So what happens there when you already have a strong, sustainable relationship with one of the co-founders? You're kind of a couple. And then you bring the third wheel into the party. And what happens there? How does he feel? How does you feel? How do you feel? Sorry. Maybe later on this couple split and there are other couples like you and Gal and you and Guy, because it happens in many startup teams that maybe they had an idea before and then they made a pivot and then they bring someone new on board and then the relationship changes. So share with us a little bit about this dynamic, how it was for you.
Yeah, so it's very complex to manage a 3-founders team.
This triangle.
This triangle, because you cannot resist that, at least for specific topics, there is a couple who takes the lead and leave the other one behind. Okay? So, for example, things that were not related to technology whatsoever. So it happened sometimes where a guy and I took it ahead and left Gal a bit behind. Or when it came to product and technology. Okay, so sometimes I took something with Gal and went ahead because we had a great idea on how to change our product and technology, and didn't let Guy know 100%, what we're up to. So I think there's always like this feeling of you're being left behind. Also, like we're very busy in the middle of the week, and on weekends I was at home, Shabbat, not driving, not phone, not anything, and they were doing like once in a while, like a meeting in a coffee shop or whatever, or hanging out together without me. So there is always a feeling that someone is left behind in like this triangle. And I think at the end, it all goes to the trust. So like if you trust your co-founders, this doesn't come from, bad intentions. So you can overcome it. But at the point where it happens, it's always like, okay, maybe I'm left behind. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm second priority. You're afraid of your position, although you're a co-founder. And there is no doubt about that. You always this, concern that you might be left behind.
The same itch that we spoke about before. But tell me, when you established Insights, so you were 3 co-founders together from the beginning of the company?
Yes.
So this is also something meaningful, how when you form a new company, a new venture, despite the fact that you had previous relationship and you knew each other and you had this strong connection, how to start something like on a clean page, all of us together, to be to have this maturity again, and to be able to open a clean page, a fresh page, and to start to walk a new path together, leaving the past behind. Because if you won't let the third person feel like he's part of it in the best, most significant way, it actually will hurt us along the way.
And in many ways, I took it as a task on myself because I knew Guy from cyber school, my previous company. I knew Gal from my 8200 service. I brought everyone together. So when we started, our journey, it was my task, like to bring everyone together. And also over time, I managed Gal at some point, and I was reporting to Guy. So also in many ways, I was just in the middle, in the position to keep everything together.
It reminds me a little bit, we go in psychology a lot of times to our origin family, right? Mishpachat HaMakor. And when we have 3 children, I'm also like the sandwich. I'm the second one, and I have 3 children as well, so I know how it is. You have 2 in the sandwich, But it's something that we take on ourselves, this importance and this knowing that we need to be the stick in order to make everything work. It's not easy. You sometimes feel that you need to let go of many things, that you don't prioritize the things that you want in certain ways, but it's for a higher goal to make this thing work together as brothers, as a team, as different kind of things.
Yeah. And we talked about my dad.
How many brothers do you have?
I have 3 sisters.
3 sisters.
Yeah.
And
I'm
where
the oldest
are you?
one.
You're the oldest.
First one, yeah.
Okay. So it also reminds a little bit like the responsibility that you feel in this situation.
Maybe. I think we talked about my dad, but I also got a lot from my mom. And my mom...
Hi, Mom.
Exactly. She's like the perfect intermediary, okay, between my father and the kids. And I think I learned a lot from her on how to keep things intact. I think our family is very like intact and together, and it's all thanks to my mother. I think no doubt about it, anyone you would ask. And I learned a lot from my mom. Taking the step back sometime, keeping things together, understand that there's something that is more important than my ego. And this is something that I'm taking with myself to my entire life.
And those skills, part of the leadership skills that are so necessary when we want to grow a company, we want to grow ourselves as managers and as leaders. And when we manage hundreds of people with us, so we really need to learn to embrace those capabilities. I want to take you to the other point, exactly to the end, okay? And you do this exit, and of course, the investor takes the money, and the tax authorities takes the money. But then again, you still stay with a lot of money as a founder in this kind of exit. How you're now 2 years afterwards, you're 35 years old, you have 4 children. How do you feel that this position of being rich and making, the startup a dream and this exit, how does it impact your life? How does it change things? It doesn't change things. The perception, the way that people address you, the way that your children are responding to things, the way that your family or brother or sisters actually sees you. How we spoke at the beginning about coming from a religious family and the attitude to money, and all of a sudden you have money. How do people look at you? Share with us a little bit about this angle.
Yeah. So first of all, I have to say honestly, I didn't felt like there is a dramatic impact on my life. I felt like, before and after, I stayed pretty much the same person with the same values. I didn't go and buy a lot of, new cars and jewelry or whatever. So overall, stay the same. I think it came with a lot of responsibility and concern towards my kids and how they're going to grow up and educate. I think that when you grow up, when you don't have everything, it builds you as a person. And I don't want my kids to be spoiled, right? I want them to be resilient. I want them to be able to do things, even if they don't get the support they need from home. So I think it came with a lot of, okay, how we do try it, what we tell them, what we don't tell them. For example, on every time I say yes to a kid of mine, I'm doing my best to say at least once no. Right, so this is something that I took on myself.
What did you tell them after the exit? How did you convey it?
We talked to them. We told them that we have a lot of money now, but it doesn't change anything in our lives, or it doesn't make us different than anyone else. And I'm not sure they fully understood it, but I can tell that a year after, my girl Abigail, she came to ask me. Mom, Dad, are we rich?
All of a sudden it hit her.
And we told her, yeah, we're rich, but it doesn't change anything. It doesn't mean anything. And my kids, I'm doing my best that they will look just the same as their kids in their classroom, dressed the same, has the same backpack, and not giving them everything. And we're just trying, to tell the truth, but at the same time, show them the values that we believe in and how a person needs to behave, how a person needs to talk.
Mm-hmm. So this is with the children. How did you feel from the community or the society or friends or?
So there was a lot of anything. So there was a lot of wow, congrats, etc. I do get I am approached with, hey, why don't you donate to this, donate to that, come help here, come help there, doing my best to help. But besides that, I didn't feel there was a huge difference. My wife always say that, in our community, people will be more excited than you had a new baby than an exit. And in many ways, it's true. At least this is our feeling. And from that perspective, things didn't change dramatically as well. But I guess it really depends on your community and where you live in. So I live in a special community. That's the honest truth.
So more or less, you describe it as business as usual. Yeah, we have money. We need to manage it. We need to make the right investments. Our children knows about it, but life continues.
Exactly.
What do you do today?
So I found a new startup. That's the main thing.
Why?
The CEO of my firm. A good question.
I like to ask.
It's a good question.
But
by the way, we were committed to Rapid7 for 2.5 years,
which is not a lot, respectively.
It's not a lot.
Okay.
But after
you had a good contract.
Yeah, I had. But I think after a year plus, I decided to leave. Actually, left all of my most of the holdback behind me from the deal, just because I felt that missing the energy of building stuff and making an impact.
Guy and Gal are still there?
Guy is still there. Gal came with me to found a new startup, 0.5.
That's interesting because at the beginning you were Guy and yourself.
True.
Then Insights, then Rapid7. Now it's you and Gal. So it's it changes all the time.
Exactly.
This triangle.
Exactly. We have now a new triangle. So From CPO, I became CEO. Gal from CTO became CPO, which, this was his passion, product. And our VP R&D from Insights became our CTO and co-founder, Amir.
What do you do today?
So today we deal with a cloud cost and help organizations manage their cloud costs. So continuously identify where they have inefficiencies and automating the process of solving these inefficiencies and getting a more efficient cloud infrastructure, essentially saving millions of dollars for companies.
How much time you're in it already?
3 months.
It's relatively new.
Really fresh.
Really fresh. And how does it feel so far, like changing the seat, being now the CEO, take the whole responsibility, the decision making, just as we described earlier, that the guy had to do now. Now it's on your shoulders.
Actually, it doesn't feel that bad. So it's important to mention we are like in the honeymoon phase right now, before the customers and the pressure on delivering business. So this is like the time where you have fun.
It's really new, but do you feel different, the fact that you're a serial entrepreneur and that you've succeeded, that you're coming from a different place now, and that the investors look at you in a different way?
Of course. I think that first of all, it's very scary to go after a new idea, because you have a success and you have a lot to lose.
Mm-hmm.
On my first start, when a guy told me, hey, Alon, let's do this and that, I would say, yes, I'm in. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I'm in. This is my dream. I'm going after it. I have nothing to lose. Right now, I have my reputation. I have my success. Now failing, has a lot of cost on the personal level. So before I decided what I wanted to do, so there was a lot of process of validation and talking to customers, and I had to be sure that it has the potential to be big. So this is one change. The other part is that things are a lot easier, from raising money, recruiting people, getting customers, excited and interested and trusting you. Even big enterprises that don't like to work with early stage startups. So it puts you in a very, very good position to succeed big time.
And again, a lot of expectations.
That's true.
You pursue another dream and you become a writer, right?
Yes.
Tell us in short about it, about this experience.
Yeah, first of all, I've always had a dream to write a book. I love books. I read all the time. And since I was a kid, it was a dream of mine. And I think that after the startup, I thought that it can be an opportunity, maybe on my free evenings or on weekends, to start writing.
For children, etc. Free evenings, yeah.
Yeah, that was also my wife's response, by the way.
I know it from the other side. Yeah, I'm writing a book. I have 3 children and a dog. And my husband, okay, Gali, you're not here again. Okay.
Exactly. And then a friend of mine became like the CEO of a publisher, a book publisher. And I talked to him. And it became to idea of writing a book about the Israeli cyber industry. And then I just went for it. I didn't know what I'm getting into. I tried to start writing. I realized I don't have what to write about. Like, I have my own story, but I want to write about the industry. So then I started interviewing all, the big shots in the Israeli cyber industry, investors, entrepreneurs, Gil Shwed, Asaf Rappaport, Shlomo Kramer, Nir Zuk, everyone. And suddenly I got the full picture of the history and what are the causes to success, and what the future entails to this Israeli cybersecurity industry, which is very successful today. Is it going to last? It's a very big question. And when I got all, the material together, and I suddenly saw, the outline of the book in front of me, I started writing. And I think it was maybe the toughest thing in my life. I'm used, to go around meeting people, talking, do things, and suddenly sitting, trying to concentrate, write. It has to be accurate. It has to be interesting,
I know. Yeah. I definitely know.
I know you know. But
I can totally relate.
And I think it was maybe the toughest thing I've done in my life. Seriously.
It's another startup, and then it's not a startup at all, because you have to bring your guts into it and your feelings and everything. And it's really difficult.
It is. But when it's out, it's the most satisfying thing ever.
More than the startup.
More than the exit.
More than the
Let's
exit.
put it this way.
Not the journey.
Yeah, not the journey,
the moment
but
itself.
the moment itself.
Because it's kind of an exit to yourself. It's like you put yourself in those papers.
True.
It's
Very
really
interesting
exciting
way to look at it.
Yeah,
totally.
definitely. I'm waiting for my copy.
You'll get one.
Wow, Alon, we can continue, but we both have many meetings and we have to, hit the pause button. So first of all, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your journey with me and with the audience. And I really think you had a lot of insights and an insider look about what happens between co-founders, about the journey of starting a company and growing it and all the way to the exit and how it feels and so many struggles that you have inside. And nothing is like amazing and pink and only good in this journey, although you're smiling all the time. But I think this is, and you said it, it's really part of embracing this growth mindset that there are many difficulties and challenges, many. And some of them are harsh. But our ability to be resilient, to bounce back from all those difficult situations that we have and to ask ourselves, what did we take from here? Or to be aware of the prices that we're paying and to surround ourselves with the people that can support us and help us through this journey and to understand that we're not alone in it. And to have this supporting founders, co-founders that although you have many, many differences along the way, you still learn how to work with each other to strengthen the relationship. So it was really a lot of insights here. So thank you for coming here and sharing this. People who want to follow you, get in touch with you, buy the book, join your new venture, where they can find you?
LinkedIn, Facebook.
You're there.
Many places. Yeah, I'm there.
So thank you again for joining me today. I had a great time talking with you. To our lovely listeners, we're going to hit pause until the next episode. That's also something I say to the entrepreneurs in my clinic in between sessions. If you enjoyed listening, I would really appreciate it if you share the podcast with people who you think would derive value from it. Thanks to the amazing studios at Google Campus, Google for Startups, sorry, they will kill me, who allow me to record all this content in here. Feel free to visit my website at galiblochliran.com and leave your details there if you wish to be updated and learn more about the mental aspects of the entrepreneurial journey. Also, be sure to follow my podcast, The Human Founder, in any of your podcast apps. Let's hit pause. Till next time. Thanks, Alon.
Thank you, Gali.
Ciao.
The Human Founder Podcast by Gali Bloch-Liran.